Once the government violates your rights, fundamental human rights, constitutional rights, you are entitled for compensation. Rigathi Gachagwa's fundamental human rights, the right to be heard, were violated. He was compensated a whopping 50 million Kenya shillings. We now go back. Our crew, Bramwell, went to look and do research on whether other politicians, and more so journalists, have journalists been hit with this? Have fundamental human rights on journalists ever been compensated? Journalists are the mirror of the society. They give it the way it happens. The fourth estate is not a government estate, but it is also seen as a fourth arm of government, the media. Has government ever persecuted the media? We see the media fighting for their space. We have seen media being clobbered and tear-gassed when they are covering stories. We have seen gadgets of the media being taken. We have seen media, when they are covering sensitive political stories, they are being arrested and their cameras told, delete these photos, delete these clips. We have seen media being shot. We've seen how risky the work of media is worldwide, but we'll narrow it to Kenya. Have media been detained? Have journalists been abused? Are their violations been taken to court? We go back to the era of Moi. During the Moi era, there was nothing called free media. There was only one, KBC. The coming into the liberalization of the media. Today we have blogs. Today we have digital media. We have social media. We have several platforms that information can be relayed. That time, it was the darkest day for the journalists. Let us look at celebrated journalists and also political heavyweights. We went, Bramwell, my crew, found the case at the Supreme Court, petition number 15 of 2017. This is a petition by Honorable Gitobu Imanyara. Honorable Gitobu Imanyara is a senior advocate of the Law Society of Kenya. He has represented almost all those people who were arrested during Moi time. Gitobu Imanyara became a member of Parliament for Imenti Central. Gitobu Imanyara set up a political newspaper that was analyzing the politics and how human rights were being violated. So Gitobu Imanyara established Nairobi Law Monthly. That time they were writing with my senior, Ahmed Nasir. It was serious. That was the voice of the opposition. The second person is Honorable Njehu Gatabaki. Njehu Gatabaki is a prominent senior veteran journalist. There is no reputable media house Njehu Gatabaki did not cover. He also had another bulletin called The Finance. It was bringing out the scandals of Moi government. Njehu Gatabaki also was a member of parliament for Githunguri constituency. Lastly, we have another senior journalist called Beda Ndugwa. He's well known for his input as the top man at the People Daily. Beda Ndugwa also worked in all the established media houses in this country. These three people, These three people have a case, and that case is found in petition number 15 of 2017. What is their case? They allege that on various dates between 1985 and 1994, in the course of agitating for opening up of democratic space and respect for freedoms in the country, their fundamental rights and freedoms were systematically contravened and grossly violated by the then Kenya Police and Criminal Investigation Department, officers, prison warders, and other government servants, agents, employees, or institutions. They contend that there were several arrested, subjected to torture, had trumped-up charges brought against them, were improperly convicted and imprisoned, and held in solitary confinement at the notorious E Block at Committee Maximum Prison, where insane prisoners were held, God forbid. These are serious journalists. These are serious authors. These are lawyers. They were arrested and detained in Block E, a block retained for insane prisoners. The government sometimes can be mad. Why must ordinary citizens be kept in the same block with people who are insane, so that the insane people can make noise, scream, and completely make these inmates lose their sanity? The appellant stated that their sources of livelihood were destroyed by various government agencies under the leadership of former President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. In paragraph 3, they said that as a result of the unlawful arrest and malicious prosecution and conviction, imprisonment, police harassment, and physical torture, they suffered psychological torture, post-traumatic stress disorder, and economic loss. Furthermore, they stated that their families suffered and lived under great uncertainty and anxiety. Each of the appellant filed a separate constitutional petition. So these three went to court and they filed their matters in court. So what did the judges of the Supreme Court order? The judges, this matter went to the High Court. From the High Court, it went to the Court of Appeal. From the Court of Appeal, it went to the Supreme Court. What did the Supreme Court say? In consideration of the foregoing, we issue orders as follows. The appellants are awarded general damages as follows. Gitobu Imanyara Wakili Senior Counsel, 25 million Kenya shillings. Njehu Gatabaki, 20 million shillings. Beda Ndugwa Kenya shillings, 15 million shillings. In total, these three were awarded 60 million shillings. 2, that the proceedings herein be remitted to the High Court in terms of paragraph 102 above, in view of the period that has lapsed since the violations, the filings, hearings, and determination of this matter before all the three courts. It is ordered the principal judge of the High Court, on priority basis, allocate a judge to finalize them. This is a decision by Justice P.M. Mwilu, Deputy Chief Justice and Vice President of the Supreme Court. The late Justice M.K. Ibrahim, Judge of the Supreme Court, may God rest his soul in eternal peace. Senior Counsel Justice S.C. Wanjala, Justice of the Supreme Court. Justice Njokintungu, Justice of the Supreme Court, and Justice W. William Ouko, Justice of the Supreme Court. This is a decision that was issued on the 17th day, February 2022. What are the lessons in this matter. Kenya has come from a very, very long distance. That time, under Moi, 1983, 1994, anybody who had a dissenting voice against Moi was detained. The judiciary was not independent. The judiciary, that is the time of the famous Chunga. People could be arrested at night, taken to court at midnight, and once you reach there, you are not allowed to have an advocate. You plead not guilty. The courts could enter a plea of guilty, and you are detained or sentenced. There was no serious criminal lawyers. The media, the way we know court helicopter nowadays, covering recordings openly, there was nothing like the media covering those stories. Prison was a mad place. There was opaqueness on how these prisoners were dealt with. There were torture chambers, the famous Nyayo chambers, where the basement prisoners could be detained in waterlogged cells. Your legs are in water for 21 days. It was the way they were beaten. There were people, the famous Opio, who was heading the serious torture chambers at Nyayo House, which is now a serious history in this country. Very many Kenyans who were against Moi lost their lives. Very many Kenyans who were against the regime of Moi were tortured. Their families were harassed. This is a wake-up call that governments should exercise power in a very, very restrained manner. Very many Gen Zs have been tortured like these heroes of this country. And that's why this weekend, we are dedicating the whole weekend to how have courts dealt with compensation of those ones who have been who have faced trumped up charges, who have been beaten, who have been tortured, who have faced the wrath of the state. From court helicopter, we demand that these are the people to be given the national heroes. The awards, the presidential awards, should be granted to these heroes. Without them, the freedom of the media could not be where we are. We couldn't be having court helicopter news if it was not the likes of Gitobu Imanyara, Gatabaki, and Beda Ndugwa. They suffered for the sake of the freedom of this country. What happened? The Kenyan Constitution, Article 34, provides for the rights and the freedoms of the media. From court helicopter, we demand, because of what they did, they be given national heroes. Out of them, a whole article, Article 34 of the Constitution, was created to protect media. This is what the article says. Freedom of the media. 34.1. Freedom and independence of electronic, print, and all other types of media is guaranteed, but does not extend to any expression specified in Article 33.2. 2. The state shall not, and I repeat, the state shall not exercise control over or interfere with any person engaged in broadcasting, the production or circulation of any publication, or the dissemination of information by any media. The state should not interfere. 2. The state should not penalize any person for any opinion or view or the content of any broadcast, publication, or dissemination. Nobody can detain, attack the freedom of court helicopter to air their views. Royal media services, you cannot. NTV, you cannot. Nation Media, you cannot. KTN, you cannot. TV47, you cannot. 3. Broadcasting and other electronic media have the freedom of establishment, subject only to the licensing procedures that are necessary to regulate the airwaves and other forms of signal distribution, and are independent of control by government, political interests, or commercial interests. The media is independent from government control. 4. All state-owned media shall, this is KBC and the others, they shall be free to determine independently the editorial content of their broadcasts or other communications. They must be impartial and afford fair opportunity for the presentation of divergent views. Number 5, Parliament shall enact the law to deal with this. So the freedom of the media. Free Kenyans fought for the freedom of the media. Gitobu Imanyara, Njehu Gatabaki, and Beda Ndugwa. They are the pioneers who started independent media houses. Every other time, the state could attack, impound their publications and disappear. Mostly, their publications were weekly publications. Whenever they were printed, NIS, that time, called the special branch, could buy all of them and burn them. Out of that, today, we have the media. You yourself, you are a media owner. With your phone, smartphone, you post your stories on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. That is, you are a media personality. You are a content creator. That any violation, the courts are very clear. They will punish heavily and award compensation for those heroes. Keep watching. This weekend, we are dealing exclusively on compensation of Kenyans who the state charged by trumped up charges or the state hurt in the course of doing their job. Asante.